for New Heights Baptist Church. I am really looking forward to the day that we can see everybody back in church again and be with each other. Many of you have been expressing the same thing. This has been a big adjustment. I think the first week it was, it's something new and kind of intriguing, and for some it took just a few days, and as far as being in the house, and boy, it started getting old very quickly, and I have to admit it really is a challenge for us to meet like this. I am not real crazy about it. I'm glad that we can have the internet and the social media so that we can meet together. So I'm glad that we can do so. So I'm glad you've chosen to be here again tonight. And I expressed to you that I would begin with using some humor. And I guess before I get to that, let me mention a few things to everybody. One, we will continue to cooperate with what our president and our governor has requested. And boy, it's really getting, this has gotten real, and it's gotten real serious. And I have to admit, probably in my heart, I've just kind of been thinking that, okay, we've gone a couple weeks here now, and everybody can relax a little bit. I'm saying that somewhat tongue-in-cheek or sarcastically. In the very beginning, I know a lot of us, and I'll speak for myself, I didn't take it probably as seriously as I should have. But boy, now you see all of the statistics, and it has gotten very serious being in the house, looking out into our society, needing to go to the store and different things. And I have gone back and forth to the church a few times, and spending time there, and to see the road, and that is just basically not empty, but sure not all that much traffic. I know some of you have jobs that you have to continue to go to, and I'm thankful. I'm glad that you have those jobs. And boy, we need to pray for each other. Some of these people that have to definitely keep society going. Nick is one that I pray for, my son-in-law, and others of you, I know Brother Johnson, others of you work at Prairie Farms, and one of my other son-in-laws works at keeping the traffic lights going. So there are some, those that work at the grocery stores, and I start the list, sure as the world you leave somebody out, our doctors, our nurses, and the mechanics, all of these different people. It's a necessity for them to be there. And so I'm thankful for those of you that have your jobs, but I sure appreciate all of the work that you do for the rest of us. Be careful. I've even had some people that have requested that I remind everybody to be very careful, to be very cautious when you're out and around. One of the reasons why I felt, one of many reasons why I felt like it was important for us to abide by the guidelines is I appreciate how some of our people look at this as being very seriously, and you want to follow the rules. And I feel like as your preacher, as your pastor, that I want to do the same. And if we would have continued having services, I think it would have put some of you in a bad position. And again, I dealt with that the very first evening that we decided to go live streaming. So thank you to all of you who, I say thank you. I'm glad there are many of you that take this very seriously. And if you're not taking it very seriously, I believe that you should. And we need to be very careful. And I've even had some work people have requested that I remind everybody for that. So that's when I said earlier, thank you. Thank you for your concern that you have for society, for our church people, your loved ones, those that are around you. Are you giving? Once again, I don't even know for sure what has come in. I know Brother Ryan goes every Sunday afternoon. We'll continue with that process. You can either mail your giving, run it by the church, put it in the Dropbox, and put it in, you could go by and put it in the mailbox, I guess. It might be just easy just to mail it. You can give online. And so in that area, we want you to continue to be faithful. We'll continue our time to services as normal, 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings, a 6 p.m. Service. We're going to do a few different things on Easter. It doesn't look like we're going to be able to meet on Easter. And I have some things that I'll share with you, not tonight, but maybe Sunday, next Thursday, that I want us to do with each other on Easter. All right, let me give you some things. These are corny. I know that they are corny, but maybe it'll make you put a smile on your face a little bit. And I'm sure for some you're going to go, oh, or make some little silly remark like that was dumb. And they are. So let me read these to you. Just help put a smile on your face and little corny statements. Here's one. A young man broke the vase of his rich uncle. He was at his house and broke a vase, and his uncle, expressed displeasure with him and expressed. He said, "Oh man," he said, that is so frustrating. That was from the 17th century. And so the young man replied, "Oh, good. I'm glad it wasn't new." Yeah, sometimes you don't understand what you have, what the value is. All right, here's another one. I always thought my neighbors were quite nice people, but then they put a password on their Wi-Fi. So if you live in a subdivision, you might be able to get your neighbor's Wi-Fi. Here's another one. I asked my daughter if she'd seen my newspaper. She told me that newspapers were old school. She said that people use tablets nowadays and handed me her iPad. That fly didn't have a chance. Yeah, I like that one. This one I do like as well. The insurance clerk said to the fellow he's trying to help, "Sir, where were you born?" And he said, "In the United States." And the insurance clerk said, "Okay, well, which part?" And he said, "Well, my entire body." Gotta think about that one a little bit. Well, a fella said to one of his buddies, he said, "Wow," he said, "man, the other day," he said, "I fell off a 30-foot ladder." And his friend said, "No way." He said, are you okay?" And he said, "Yeah, it was just the first step." Yeah, I like that one as well. Well, what does the judge ask? What did the judge ask when he went to the dentist? So this is what the judge asked the dentist. "Do you swear to pull the tooth, the whole tooth, and nothing but the tooth?" Yeah, one more. All right, one more. And I'm a little bit hesitant to use a hospital joke, but I kind of like the way this one is worded. I think it's humorous. So the fella calls his mom and he says to him, "Mom, don't get alarmed, but I'm at the hospital." So the mom's reply was, "Son, please, you've been a surgeon there for 8 years. Can we start our phone calls a little differently now?" And so that would sense of humor, different people, different families. And so I thought I'd give those to you just to give you something to smile about a little bit. Acts chapter 21. Acts chapter 21 is where we will be. For some of you, I don't know how quarantined you have been or isolated. If you're not sick, I don't guess you're quarantined, but this stay-at-home ordinance that we have, hopefully you're looking outside. Have you noticed the grass is turning green? Yeah, that's exciting. Spring is actually, we are in spring, and the weather is changing. That's a blessing. A little bit warm. I didn't do the fire today because of how warm it is, so I don't know. It might be warm enough that our little fireside chats are just going to be the side chats without the fire, so I don't know about that one. I enjoy my fireplace. Acts chapter 21. Acts chapter 21. I've titled the thoughts here tonight that I'm going to give to all of us together, Bringing Others Along. Bringing Others Along. Acts chapter 21 and verse 5 will be our key verse. And before we read, let's pray together. Lord, thank you for this time that we can be together. I pray that as I give some thoughts, that it'll be a help, be encouragement, be a blessing to all of us, and guide us in these next few minutes. And we'll thank you for it in Jesus' name. Amen. Acts chapter 21 and verse 1. And it came to pass that after we were gotten from them and had launched, now this is talking about Paul, and it says, we came with a straight course unto Cos, and the day following unto Rhodes, and from thence unto Patara. And finding a ship sailing over into Phoenicia, we went aboard and set forth. Now when we had discovered Cyprus, we left it on the left hand and sailed into Syria, and landed at Tyre, for there the ship was to unlade her burden. And so Paul is talking about these little journeys that he is on, and his sailing and naming the different cities that they had gone to. And so they had gone to Tyre now, and they were going to unload the ship. So I don't know, that possibly they were doing so for income or to help somebody, whatever the case may be. They were going to unload it there. And then verse 4, and finding disciples, we tarried there 7 days. So they found people there that knew the Lord, loved the Lord, and obviously asked them to stay. And so Paul said, in finding disciples, we tarried there 7 days, who said to Paul through the Spirit that he should not go up to Jerusalem. So they were warning Paul that he shouldn't go to Jerusalem. Verse 5, this is the key verse for the evening. When we had accomplished those days, we departed and went our way, and they all brought us on our way. That's interesting. And they brought us on our way with wives and children till we were out of the city, and we kneeled down on the shore and prayed. And that brought out of the way is where I get the title for my thoughts tonight, Bringing Others Along. I looked up the meaning of that, bringing others along. It has an interesting meaning. The meaning means to send forward or to escort and to accompany on a journey. And so that's why I titled my little thoughts here tonight, Bringing Others Along. This is a journey. We are in historic times. I really believe that. There will be some things that will be read about throughout history, and I think this coronavirus will be one of those times that will be talked about in history. And we're experiencing this with each other, bringing others along. I really have been moved by some of the stories of people that you hear just helping others and doing their part. I know I'm getting ready to say I haven't run across any rude people at the store yet. And I just remembered I did have one lady. I was standing in the store last week looking at an aisle trying to find what I was looking for. And the lady she just strolled right up and stood right in front of me. And it just kind of floored me. So other than that one, everybody has been very friendly, and I'm just moved to hear all these different stories and encouraging things. I always try to encourage people when I'm there. I thank them. The people that are at the store that are disinfecting the carts and the little, oh boy, what are the little baskets, and these people are working hard, and so be kind to all of these people, bringing others along. We're on this journey with each other, and the time that they spent with Paul, they wanted to go with him when he got ready to leave. And I thought that was interesting. And when he had accomplished those days, we departed and went our way, and they all brought us on our way. But here's where I want to put emphasis. There were a group of people there, and it says they were with wives and children till we were out of the city, and we kneeled down on the shore and prayed. I was reading the other day, and that jumped out at me, and I just thought it was something that they just out in God's nature, outside on the seashore, and they decided just to kneel down as a big group together and pray. You know, I hear some of these people talking about prayer. This Mike Lindell, I think is his name, with the My Pillow. The president had some businessmen address the country a few days ago, and boy, he just gave a very strong reminder about reading our Bible and praying And it's so refreshing to hear things like that. And so here they are out in the open on the seashore, and there was I don't know how big the group was, but they decided that they would kneel with each other and that they would pray. Well, there's some things that I think they were teaching their children, because it says here that and they all brought us on our way with wives and children. And I'm going to give you a few thoughts here tonight on when they were teaching their children. They taught the children. I'll get there in a second. They taught their children three important things, and I want to give those to you right now. They taught their children the importance of relationships. First of all, they taught their children the necessity for a relationship with the Lord. I think it's great that they can just be out in God's nature like that and decide that they're going to pray. And we need to, when we're able to get back out and around again, I always encourage people to pray when you're at the restaurant and when you're out and around in public. We want to thank the Lord for how good He has been to us. And it just jumped out at me that they were on the seashore and they prayed. Well, they were teaching those children something, and they were teaching those children not to forget the Lord. And during these times, we should remind the kids that these are trying times. We need to pray for people, and we need to pray for each other. And let me encourage you not to forget the Lord. I don't know how many people are live streaming. I don't know if they're watching at specific times, or live, I guess I should say, at Thursday night at 7 o'clock and Sunday morning at 11, and church again on Sunday night at 6. I would encourage you to do so don't get lackadaisical. And I think keeping a good schedule will help keep us in the mode of understanding that this is church time. And so we need to make sure that we teach the children and remind ourselves the importance of the right relationship with the Lord. Not only the right relationship with the Lord, but the Lord's people. If you remember the story, that Paul was with them for 7 days. And at the end of that 7 days, I think they went to the shore and they wanted to be a part with Paul, as an escort to accompany Paul. I think they hated to see him go. I think they enjoyed the time that they had with him for 7 days. Let me encourage you to enjoy God's people. Enjoy God's people. I say, especially when we're able to be at church, God's people are the greatest people in the world. And during this time, I have people that text me and ask different things and request different things, and I think that is wonderful. And God's people really are the greatest people in the world. And we need to teach our children to have the right kind of relationship with God's people. And so they taught their children the importance of a good relationship. Children, that there are some good preachers out there. For example, we're listening to a lot of different preachers on a regular basis. We listened to my son preach last night. And if you're not on, I don't know if they do it every Tuesday night or just whenever they decide they want to do it, but Joshua and Nikki and the kids have been singing. They sing, I think the first time they did it, they sang maybe 15 minutes or so. And the other night they sang, and wow, they do such a great job. What a blessing just to hear them sing and to harmonize, and the fun. Watch people like that. There are a lot of good preachers out there. This is a great time to remind your children that there are a lot of good preachers out there. There are so many people, that we tear people down more than we should. I think some of you ought to get off of your Facebook and off of your little, okay, I'm going to go ahead and say it, maybe some of you are watching, you need to get off of your little IFB bitter trip. And, not all IFB people are bad people. And some of y'all need to quit trying to tear each other down so much and killing each other. Some of y'all ought to watch the news and realize that in a crisis time, we have people like our president, Donald Trump, who can get along with Andrew Cuomo in New York. And I've heard Cuomo, I don't know how many times, and say this is not the time to be political. We are in a battle for our life. And you get two guys from two separate spectrums, two separate ends, one conservative, one liberal, and yet they come together for a cause. I think some of you would do yourself some good to quit tearing down a bunch of preachers across the country. Wow, man, I really got into that a little bit, didn't I? I hope some of y'all are watching. And God's people are the greatest people in the world, and there are a lot of good preachers out there. And I think you ought to watch some of them and enjoy it. Teach your kids that the man of God is still important, and that they need to have a good relationship with the men of God and good godly people in their life. And so the relationship, they taught their children the importance of relationships, a relationship with the Lord, and a good relationship with the Lord's people, and as well as preachers. I think they taught respect. Not only did they teach the children the importance of relationships, but the importance of respect, which I kind of got ahead of myself just a little bit, a respect for the Lord. You don't have to be in church to pray. You can be out standing on the seashore and just get on your knees and pray and thank God maybe for the water, the beauty, the fish. I know when we go to Florida, it is so beautiful. There have been times that we've been out in the boat with mom and dad, or standing on the bank by their house, and we've actually seen the dolphins come through. And I don't know how many times, but I've seen that. I just love seeing those dolphins, and they're so beautiful. And you thank the Lord for His beauty. There have been times I've gone down at the end of the road at mom and dad's place and just sat there and looked out into the Gulf and the big bridge across the way, and just thank God for the beauty. The manatee that would come up to the boat dock, and we get all excited about seeing the manatee, and a respect for God and His nature and His creation. And they taught that. You don't have to be in church to kneel and pray. They knelt by the seashore. And so a respect for the Lord, and again, a respect for the Lord's. Then this one's a little bit, I kind of put a few words all together here. I think they taught their children the importance of people being relocated or maybe being removed. We need to remember those. And they're paying attention. And they know that this was a sacred time. You know, and they knew that maybe they wouldn't see Paul get back to the church. I hope people have seen that the absence maybe really has helped the heart to grow fonder. Not absence from the Lord. Hopefully you aren't forgetting the Lord. I hope you're reading your Bible and spending time with the Lord and doing what you can do. And, you know, I think of my mom and dad, and I think of all of you. You just don't know. One day things can change so much. Hannah stopped by today. She had to go to the store and had the kids with them, and so we were taking precaution, and they didn't even come in the house, and they stood outside, and we didn't hug each other, and I don't want to take too many liberties, but with where Nick works, and you just never know the exposure, and so Hannah's just being extra careful, and I guess we're the old parents that she's being extra careful about, and so we aren't that old yet, and those weren't her words either, by the way. Oh man, I'm telling you, it was, little Keegan, he has just become Grandpa's buddy, because a few weeks ago when he saw Grandpa go through his through Mom passing out, almost passing. We don't know what in the world happened, and with all of that, and Keegan saw all of that, and boy, he had just become Grandpa's little buddy. We just never know how long we're going to have each other, and they knew that about Paul. They encouraged him not to go to Jerusalem. I think which instigated, they had that right relationship with the Lord, with the Lord's people, respect for the Lord, the Lord's people. Y'all, people aren't going to be around forever, and so you got to take this time let me encourage you to spend time with your family. Don't just go hibernate and be in a room and don't see anybody throughout this whole period. It gets said and done, and spend 3 or 4 weeks kind of cooped into the house together and not even see each other. Wow, how sad would that be? And so you need to spend time together. And I love this little quote that was, I think Hannah sent it to us last week sometime, and I may not have it word for word, but it's one of these little captions that said, "I'm getting weary of watching my mother's grandchildren." And so for you moms, you're trying to entertain these kids, and wow, they're full of energy. Boy, I thank the Lord. You guys, thank the Lord for your wife. Help with the kids during this time. Some of y'all still having to go to work, and help each other out, and don't be, I mean, these are stressful times. So I wrote a few things down because they're being stressful times. Spend time together. Believe it or not, here we go. Use social media to help you out. Get some ideas from the internet. Get some ideas from your friends and how to do some fun things and to entertain each other. There's so many good things that you can get on social media, and don't get on one of those bitter IFB things. Okay, that's not going to help you. I had to go back to it, didn't I? Get on something that's going to be pleasant and pleasing, where you can edify each other and help each other and laugh a little bit, weep with each other. There are going to be some sad stories. Pray with each other, and let's bring others along. You don't have to do this on your own. We do have each other. And I loved it that they, it says, and they all brought us on our way, kneeling down right out there in God's wide open, beautiful shore, and prayed with Paul. So they taught their children the importance of good relationships, of respect for each other, and to remember you're not going to have everybody all the time. So during this time, spend time together, and try not to get too stressed out, and allow social media to be a help, be a blessing to you, and get the most out of it. All right, I love you all, and if you need anything, need us to pray about anything, need to talk, give me a call, text me, whatever, and we'll do our best to stay in touch. See you Sunday morning at 11 a.m.